Down Greenbrier County, 8 o'clock coffee was a big breaking thing then.
And you would get it ground when you went to the A&P store, right?
Yeah.
They sold A&P.
Yeah, I remember those. Get a bag of beans, put it in the hopper, put the bag underneath, you got your coffee ground.
And you did it yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you had fresh beans. Now see, that's the difference between a coffee place and a place like the Dirt Bean. They don't grind that until it's on the spot, you know. I like that.
There's a place, where the hell was it? It was in Brockton, Mass. My last wife and I used to go shopping for coffee, and we'd get Sambuca and another flavored coffee. And we'd pick out what we want, they'd grind it for us. We'd take it home, we'd toss it in the freezer.
Well, Mr. Martin, do you cook for yourself?
Yeah, I could do a certain amount of it.
Are you much of a cook? Was your wife a pretty good cook?
My wife was a good cook, and my mother was an excellent cook. And Mom passed away in 1969.
You want to sit down with us? Get your chair there.
No, because I got to get in the car, go up to the library. I got some banking I have to take care of.
Know about
If
that.
I happen to see you here, I want to touch base with you.
I'm running a new vehicle somewhere. I don't know where it's at now. But I'm excited. I was up there around by the bank. Both of my vans blew up.
Yeah, I miss that cornbread my mother used to bake.
Did she make good cornbread?
She made real good cornbread. I could just live on cornbread and milk.
I bet you could. I never did get used to that milk part of the cornbread. I know a lot of people would take a glass of milk and then they'd put the cornbread in it, you know.
And then spoon it.
And then spoon it, but I never could get that. Just never got very far with me, you know. But now I use cornbread and beans, you know.
I kind of turned off to cornbread. My father used to burn it.
Yeah.
And burned cornbread was...
Yeah, yucky. There's nothing worse than burnt the bottom burnt cornbread.
Yes.
I know.
Mom would know to make her cornbread dough up, put it in had an old big orange skillet she put it in. She'd check that old skillet a little bit, that just would dabble out. She says there's an old bake oven or the stove. You get pretty brown on top. It was done. And she cut that out in squares. I'd get a glass of milk and a square of that. I had her made then.
Did your mom ever, or your wife ever make bread in a skillet? Bread in a skillet.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that done?
I've seen it in church.
Okay.
Done it for years and years and years. Mom had an old big cast iron skillet about that big around. It's cast iron skillet now.
Yeah, I know, heavy.
And she had a small one. And that's what she baked her cornbread in.
Fed a whole family that way, didn't she? Know how many brothers and sisters? Did you have brothers and sisters?
I'm the oldest kid and the youngest kid.
Oh.
The only kid.
That do happen. Yep. Well, so you were your mom's favorite kid.
Well, Mom and Dad is together.
I wonder, Mr. Martin, how did you meet your wife?
Sir?
How did you meet your wife?
Well, I seen her name in the paper one day, and I wrote her a letter, and she answered right back. Yeah, we wrote back and forth for a long time. Yeah.
Had you seen her face?
I'd seen her pictures, that was all.
Okay. So when you saw her picture, you decided that was the girl for you, right?
Yeah, one day she had invited me up there, Laura. That was north of Dayton.
So you got yourself a Buckeye girl.
So I took off, went up there. She met me at the front porch. Yeah, her parents didn't think too much of me, which it didn't bother me a bit, especially her dad. And so he's there overnight, and I said, well, I better head back to my job. You know what she done? She went back to her clothes and come back with me.
Really?
She went back to her clothes and come right back with me. We went and got married on July the 9th, 1955.
Now that was a determined woman, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's determined to get out of there.
So it sounds like she didn't care much for her daddy either.
If you'd ever met that old man, you'd have said, let me get away from here somehow, some way.
So where did you take her to?
So we come back down to my parents in Summers County. Well, I was helping cut a little bit of timber on Kenny's dog. Well, I finished that job out. Well, I went down to Alders and up above Alders, not next to Alta, a little old place used to be called Baker's Mill. The old man, Ashby Femstra, went up there and got a job for him. Then when I left, went back up to High, I had heck of tried to find a job, but I finally got a job. Didn't pay much, but I got a job.
Well, a lot of people were looking for jobs in Ohio in the 50s, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was a place to go.
But I was doing all kinds of work there, even painting. Now you get on top of a 16-foot extension ladder, stand on the last rung, and reach up and get through the boards in an old barn and reach up over your head and paint. What if that board would give away?
Well, you look like a pretty small man. So you probably were pretty light, right?
Yeah. So.
Now you weren't into service, were you?
No. One day my father-in-law's sister down in Dayton up there. And he's sitting there saying, Harvey, he wouldn't work in a pie factory to get what he could eat. She said, now listen, Brother John. She said, now I know better than that. She said, Sis and I, stopped one day, she said he was standing on a 16-foot extension ladder, painting the barn, and he said, you know how it goes up that peak that way? He said he had his fingers through that crack of that board with the hold of that board, reaching up over his head to paint. He said, I told Sis, she said, if that would give away, he'd never know what happened. He'd fall backwards off there and kill himself. But she said, with the Lord's help, it didn't give away. He painted all around and he could get back down on the ladder. Said we sat there and watched him, and then we went on over to Pittsburgh before we'd started to go. He said, now, Brother John, don't you tell me he won't work. Seen him out there mowing lawns, but he's getting so late in, I don't know how he's seen him mow. But the main reason I left there was me and my wife, my daughter, her brother and his wife, and she was keeping her sister little boy, and her younger brother. And I've been offered to help a bit.
Well, when you came back to West Virginia, well, about when would that have been?
Yeah. I think it was 62.
62. How has the world changed between now and back then?
A whole lot.
It has?
Changed for the worst.
To the worst?
Yeah, my dad had sugar diabetes. He wasn't doing no good. So I'd managed to rake around, got enough money ahead by mowing lawns and dark and everything, and made a down payment on an old used car. I told my wife, I said, now this is Friday when I get paid. I said, I'm heading from West Virginia to my parents. If you want to go, you better have the clothes and your baby ready. Hell, that evening when I pulled in the yard, she had the clothes ready and the baby ready, all on the front porch, was ready to. She grabbed them up and got in the car. I didn't stop till I got back to West Virginia.
Well, she seems to have been a lady who could make her mind up pretty well.
Yeah, she's seen it. I couldn't support all of them.
Yeah.
I was working myself to death. You work like in the National Oil Company. I'd done everything, even wash his dishes for his mother. Besides, after 5 o'clock, I would mow lawns until it got so dark I could not see to mow no more.
So you have had a pretty hard life, haven't you?
Hard at the name for it.
Yeah. So when you came to Marlton, what's your impressions of Marlton?
Well, I moved up here in 1965 to get a job up there at that furniture factory at the old fairground.
Yes, I remember that.
And I worked there till about a month before it closed permanently.
What kind of furniture did they make in that place?
Chairs, davenports, and all stuff like that.
So general household, living room stuff.
Yeah, I told one day they was getting lumber, and Elmer Weimer, you probably know him.
Yep.
He got a truckload of lumber, and I said, now, Mr. Weimer, I'm going to tell you something. I said, that lumber is green, and it won't make furniture. I said, what do you know about it? I said, well, I wasn't born yesterday, and the day before, not even the month before. He went ahead and had me to plane it all up, rip it up and everything. They made furniture. I set it out. About a week later, here it come back. It's all grown and warped. Well, you set it here down. Like I said, you got rocket chairs out of it. All of them.
Yeah.